My Nut, I Think by Enid Blyton. We store food for our tough times. In the same way, animals store food for their winter. This story is about two animals, a nuthatch and a squirrel who fight over some nuts. My nut, I think. The squirrel was collecting nuts for his winter hoard. He had a nice little hiding place in the hole of his tree. But the nuthatch found the hoard. The nuthatch was a fine looking bird with a very strong beak, and he was just as fond of nuts as the squirrel was. He didn't sit up and gnaw a hole in the shell to get at the kernel like the squirrel did. No, he hadn't had teeth like the squirrel. He tackled the nut in a different way. He took it in his beak and wedged it tightly in a ridge in the bark of a tree. Then, clinging fast to the trunk, he hammered hard at the shell with his strong, powerful beak. Crack! He broke the shell and then ate the nut inside. Delicious! Now, the squirrel was asleep one day when the nuthatch began to hammer at a nut in the very same tree as the sleeping squirrel. The squirrel woke up with a jump and put his head out of the hole to see what the noise was. He saw the nut in the bark of the tree and felt annoyed. He ran down to it and began to try and get it out with his little paw. My nut, I think, he said. No, my nut, said the nuthatch and gave the nut a peck. It flew to the ground. The squirrel flew at the nuthatch, who at once tried to peck him. Now, after that, to annoy the squirrel, the nuthatch always hammered at nuts just below his sleeping hole and woke him up. To make matters worse, he always chose nuts out of the squirrel's own hoard. So, time after time, the squirrel would wake up, leap from his hole, and cry, My nut, I think! And then there would be a squabble and the nut would fall to the ground. I can find the nuts afterwards, thought the squirrel. I'll pick up the nuts another time, said the nuthatch. What fun it is to annoy this sleepy little squirrel. Now, at the bottom of the tree, in a small hole, lived a little mouse. Like the squirrel, he had hoarded food for the cold days. But he hadn't very much that winter. So, when he saw nuts falling around him day after day, he was very surprised and pleased. There's a lot of hammering and jabbering going on up there, he thought, looking up into the tree. Somebody seems to be throwing away nuts all the time. When the squirrel went to collect the nuts, they weren't there. Not one was to be found. The nuthatch flew down too and began to look. We'll share them, he said to the squirrel. I won't tease you anymore. But there were no nuts to be shared. What a peculiar thing, said the squirrel. We better go around asking if anyone has seen our nuts. There was only one person who could tell them that, and that was the little mouse. He dug down his hole with a lovely pile of nuts. But did he say a word? Not he. I hope you enjoyed the story. It's very funny. Thank you.